Welcome, everybody. Welcome to episode number 99 of Fraternity Foodie. I am your host, Mike Eilon, CEO of Greek University. As always, we call these episodes Fraternity Foodie because there's nothing like great food to bring people together. Today, we have with us such a special guest. I can't even begin to describe how happy I am today. Tracy Nadzieja. She is a commissioner of the Maricopa County Superior Court in Arizona, and she is a lifetime fraternity and sorority advocate. And we're going to get into that story. Tracy's story is so incredible, and I felt that our listeners would learn so much from her story. So to me, she's the perfect guest for Fraternity Foodie podcast. Welcome to the show, Tracy.
Thank you, Michael.
I'm so honored that you're here with us today. So let's start this off here on October 12th, 2018. This was a great day. You were sworn in as a commissioner of the Maricopa County Superior Court in Arizona. And at that very moment, you became the first known transgender judge in the state of Arizona. And according to the Southern Arizona Gender Alliance, you are just the third transgender judge in the entire country. What did that moment feel like for you?
Oh my gosh. Well, it completely surreal. And I know that term gets thrown around, but really in this case, it was amazing. I'm going to tell you, Michael, it wasn't necessarily because I was transgender necessarily, but as part of that backstory, I had always kind of lived in the shadow of my gender identity and never wanting to go out on a limb and do anything, or because I was always so afraid that somebody might find out about my identity. So when I finally went through my transition, my gender transition, I went through it so late in life, I felt like, I want to live every single day to the fullest. So what could I do with my experience as a lawyer? So I applied. I didn't think I had a shot of getting it. So when I found out that I was actually appointed, it was amazing. It really was. So being the third in the country, that was really cool. And I'm glad that that story got out there, because hopefully it'll be inspiration to young people to know that, if you're transgender, whatever, there's people out there that fill roles, doctors, lawyers, judges. So hopefully maybe I can be a little bit of a role model to the younger generation. But for me, it was really just a matter of, I get to do something that's incredibly important on a day-to-day basis. So.
Wow, you are just such an inspiration, not only to lawyers who want to be judges, but anybody who wants to do anything amazing. I'm just blown away by the whole thing. And I think for our listeners, we need to go way back in history now, all right? We have to start from the beginning. You graduated from Arizona State. I know you're a very proud alum. What made you choose Arizona State?
So here, yes. So this is all going to tie into the life story. I'm going to tell you, after I graduated from high school, Michael, I really didn't think that I was going to go to college. I was not anybody knowing this, but I was struggling with my identity issues. And I really thought that if I joined the Army, that was going to cure me of my gender identity issues. I really did think that. I'm like, what could be a more masculine type of a thing that's going to cure this, is going into the Army. So I was actually all signed up. I'd signed all my papers. And about a month before I was supposed to show up at the depot for my assignment, my parents talked me out of it. And they were able to get me out of that commitment. And they said, try college just for 1 year. If you could just give it 1 year and a really good try, if after 1 year you don't like college, we'll actually drive you to the recruiting station and we'll let you pursue that if you want to do it. But I will tell you, after probably less than 1 week at Arizona State, living in the residence halls, I knew that was where I wanted to be. So that's how it all kind of started. It wasn't something that I had planned on going to Arizona State. It was just one of those last minute, the local university, and it was there, and it turned out to be the best decision of my life. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for my parents telling me, just try college.
Yeah, you're such a loyal alum. So that's a great story to hear. And so you joined Sigma Pi Fraternity at Arizona State. And I know because I've spoken to a lot of alumni over the years, you were an outstanding leader of that chapter. So I'm wondering, why did you choose Sigma Pi?
Oh, well, so yeah, so I didn't go through Rush my freshman year as in the fall. I actually waited. I didn't have any intentions of joining a fraternity until one night. It was spring rush, and I got a knock on my door to my dorm room, and there were some guys there. They were Sigma Pi members, and they said, "Hey, look, we've got a rush party tonight." I didn't even know. I was like, "Rush what? What are we rushing? Why do we have to be in a rush?" So they were like, no, come to this party, just check us out. There's no obligation. We're not going to pressure you into joining, but just see what it's like. So I never actually went through formal rush where I visited all of the on-campus fraternities. I went to a Sigma Pi party, and it was probably, I'm going to say within an hour or so, I felt so included. I was really like, wow, this is something completely missing in my life. And it was just a natural click. So it was literally going from, I had no intention of joining to a fraternity till about a couple of hours later going, this is great. I want to be a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's how that all started.
That is just incredible. And see, that's why I want to get rid of that word rush. It's just recruitment. I mean, why are we always in such a rush? Like, we should be doing this all the time, just building relationships 365 days a year.
I know. And, you know, that goes back to, being an advisor and all this. We always talk about recruitment, and sometimes all it takes is just reaching out and inviting somebody to come to an event. Don't wait for formal recruitment period. You should be able to approach people at any point in time and say, hey, look, I think you'd be a great member. Why don't you show up at this philanthropy event or this social event or whatever, and just meet people. So I'm a big advocate because that's how it happened with me.
Yeah, I'm so happy for that. That is amazing. Now, so fast forward a little bit, you first came out to your wife after 15 years of marriage, and it was probably the first time you've ever really faced any kind of fear head on. And at that point, you're thinking you're going to be kicked out of your house, you're going to be kept away from your children, that you were going to lose absolutely everything. But how did that actually play out?
Well, this was tough because and I'm not necessarily really proud about this, but looking back, living in the closet with something like this is very difficult, and it takes a lot of energy in your life. I have to say, ever since I was a really young kid, the first memories that I had, I knew that I wasn't living in the right body, in the right gender. That was something that I just knew. It was innate. It wasn't anything that was in my family or anything. I just knew it. And it was something that I learned early on was not a positive thing, especially growing up in the 70s and early 80s. It wasn't anything that society celebrated at all or made people feel welcome. So I know what it was like to live most of my life in the closet. And I became, I hate to say it, like a master deceiver. I kept this story from everybody, Michael. I kept it from my parents. I got married. I kept it from my wife. We had children. I didn't let them know. But at some point in time, that pressure of being able to keep that under a lid for all those years, it just got to be too difficult. And my coming out was actually a complete accident. One night, my wife discovered some women's clothing that I had stored in my house. And she was thinking that maybe I was having an affair. So she confronted me with it, Michael. And that was the time I said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I can't, it's not fair to her. It's not fair to my kids. I have to just face this fear. And I'm telling you, fear is one of the biggest motivating things that we have in our life. It makes us do things that we're not necessarily proud of, that we look back on. But it was that one moment that night when my wife confronted me that I said, you know what, I can't live this life of deceit anymore. I just have to face it. And if that means that I get kicked out of my house, that my marriage is over, that I won't have a relationship with my kids, I would rather live an authentic life, despite losing everything that I had worked for my whole life. I mean, it just meant that much to me at that point in time. I couldn't go on with that deceit anymore.
Mhm. Wow, that is just incredible. And you, of course, were a civil litigation attorney in private practice for 24 years. And then you come out to your law partners as Tom, transitioning slowly over time. So, how did your law partners react to this news?
Well, this kind of ties into the story. So my wife ultimately, said, "Hey, look, we'll work through these problems, okay?" And we actually now we're still married. We've been married now for 24 years. Everybody in my family has embraced this now. It wasn't easy. There were rocky points, and one of those rocky points was facing what was going to happen with my career. That if I was going to transition, how are my law partners going to take this? So it was another one of those conversations where when I went in to talk to my law partners about it for the very first time, telling them that there was going to be some physical changes that they were going to notice over time, that was another one of those things that this could be my last day on the job. I don't know, as a litigating a lawyer, where you go into court, is this what my firm is going to want for one of their partners and for their clients? Are we going to lose business? So we had to have a really difficult discussion in our conference room one day. And I'm going to tell you, personally, they were extraordinarily supportive. They told me right off the bat, they said, "Hey, you've been a great partner, a great lawyer, a great friend of ours. That's all that matters. We will figure out a way to go forward with our clients and cases and stuff like this." But they let me know that I was supported right from the very beginning. So there was that right off the bat, made me feel like, thank goodness I'm not going to lose my career after all those years. And we did work through it, and I didn't lose any clients. And everything just had a really happy ending. But I will say, though, when I did go through the transition after all those years of living with that fear and finally shedding it and getting that off of my shoulders,
Mm-hmm.
I really felt like I just wanted to spend the rest of my life doing something that was really meaningful. And how could I best use my education and my experience to really maybe impact other people's lives? And that's why I decided ultimately to pursue the judicial role.
Well, you're doing a fantastic job, and you wanted to be commissioner because of your qualifications, all the work that you had put in, not because of your identity. And I also think, it's interesting to me, you're very apolitical. I've noticed that about you. So I'm wondering, why do you feel so strongly that you don't want to stick out in any way?
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to be accepted as the person who I am, which is, if anybody was going to put any kind of a label on me, Michael, I just wanted to be known as a good, competent, qualified judge. I didn't want anybody to think that I got the job because of my gender identity.
Mhm.
I really wanted this to be based on the merits of my career. And that was really important to me, because I wanted people to look and sit there and say, you're just one of the other lady judges on the bench. That's it. That's all I ever wanted. Nobody who goes through a gender transition ever wants to necessarily be known as, well, you're the transgender this or the transgender that. I grew up my whole life, Michael, just wanting to be a woman. I mean, that's who I was on the inside, and that's all I ever really wanted to be known as. So it was important to me that people didn't look at me like that. And I can tell you, that's actually, to be honest with you, how it's all turned out. I think now, being on the bench for 2.5 years, it's not even an issue. Nobody even raises it. It's just not an issue. So
That's really good. That's really, really good to hear. And the other interesting thing about this story is now, and people might not know this yet, but you're now an initiated member of Kappa Kappa Gamma, which was really 35 years in the making. So
Yeah.
why are you so proud to be a Kappa now? Tell your audience
So
here.
Mike, oh my gosh, Michael, this is this most exciting thing. So while I loved my experience with Sigma Pi, I mean, I was completely immersed in Sigma Pi. I did as much as I could. I loved Greek life. But as I started getting more involved in on the executive board and committees and interfraternity council, I started meeting a lot of sorority women.
Mhm.
And a lot of my really close sorority friends were members of Kappa. And I will tell you, there was something I just felt about their sisterhood. At that time at Arizona State, I was just like, wow, this is really a special group. I mean, I saw their sisterhood from an outsider perspective. And as much as I love being in Sigma Pi, I hate to tell you, deep in my heart, I was like, that's really where I wanted to be. If life started out different, that's what I would have wanted to been. So at the time in the 80s, there was no possibility for that to happen. Okay, so I just put that dream aside. I never thought about it again. It just was put in the closet. I went along with my life in Sigma Pi and I became, an alumni volunteer and all that. But this past summer, when everything was shut down with COVID, one of my Sigma Pi alumni brothers, who was a big volunteer, his daughter posted a Facebook video, and she is the president of her Kappa chapter at her college. And I listened to this 3-minute impassioned speech by this 20-year-old young lady. And I sat there and my jaw just dropped open. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the Kappa that I knew when I was an undergraduate. And that whole feeling about wanting to be a member started coming back. And I literally went on the internet that night and I got on Kappa Kappa Gamma's website and I was checking it out. And I saw that you actually could apply to become an initiated member. So I made the application. I didn't know how it was going to turn out, but that was basically how this all got sparked after 35 years after school. So.
Wow. That is just tremendous. And you have your first volunteer role starting this spring at Kappa. And I know that being a volunteer at Sigma Pi, that brought you tremendous joy in your life. So I'm just curious here, right? And maybe this is for, all of the headquarters organizations that are looking for alumni to help. Why are you so eager to volunteer? Because truth be told, sometimes it's really hard to find good volunteers.
Yeah, it is. And, but I can't tell you how much joy being an alumni volunteer was for Sigma Pi.
Mhm.
I filled a number of different roles and and I'll tell you, I am grateful for the leadership of Sigma Pi that they would allow somebody like me who transitioned from a male to a female to still be part of the organization and still allow me to be an alumni volunteer. And I'm not going to say that that was an easy road, Michael. It was a little difficult because the culture is not necessarily used to having that happen. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when you go to national convention and you're the only person wearing a dress at your national convention, it's very uncomfortable. And there's some people who, are just not necessarily familiar with those issues or anything else like this. But I'm going to tell you, I'm so grateful that the organization said, we still want you to be involved. We still want you to be a volunteer. And the reason why I find so much joy in it is because I know how important my experience was as an undergrad. It really changed my life. And I know what Greek life can do for people. I know that it can set you on a path for future success. And it just makes you such a better person in so many ways. And it's not, it's not just maybe I'll find an employer who's part of my fraternity or whatever, but it's the bond of brotherhood and the bond of sisterhood that it's just unmatched. I mean, I really am a big, firm believer. So When I decided to ultimately apply to Kappa, I resigned my membership with Sigma Pi because I wanted to be all in. I didn't want to have split or divided loyalties. I wanted to say, this is what I really wanted to jump in full time. But then again, I'm coming into a new organization. I don't have that undergraduate experience. So I don't necessarily know the culture of being in a sorority. But I'm going to tell you, it's an amazing organization. They made me feel so welcome from day number one. And this comes from this is the undergraduates, this is the local alumna, this is the national office. Everybody has made me feel extraordinarily welcome. They knew what my background was with Sigma Pi and the different roles that I served for them. So they went out of their way to find a role for me right away. Now, I just initiated last month, so I've only been an initiated member of Kappa for a month, but they've already found a role for me to be one of their advisors for the local ASU chapter. So this is completely exciting for me, Michael. To be involved not just with Kappa as a volunteer, but for my ASU chapter. It's incredible.
That is incredible. You seem so happy to me. I'm so happy for you. Are there moments right now where you just pinch yourself to see if you're really dreaming?
Yes, every day. Seriously, every single day. I can't believe it. It's to have this dream come true. First of all, just being a member of Kappa was exciting and going through all that. But to know that they have accepted me and made me feel welcome, and that I am a valued member of the organization, and they're not just trying to increase their numbers. This is not just hey, look I can now put on my resume that I'm a member of Kappa. That's not what this is all about. They made me feel like a sister from day one. And we recently, this is great, Michael, you love this. They know that I missed out on my undergraduate experience. We recently had a small gathering of alumna, kind of like a little happy hour event that I showed up. And it was the first time that I got a chance to meet some of the local alumna from all over the country. And one of the ladies who knew that I'd missed out on that undergraduate, she printed out her local chapter's songbook and her chant book. And she said, I want you to have this because these are the songs and these are the chants that we used to use at our chapter many years ago. And she said, I just want you to feel welcome. Wow. So to have somebody go out of their way to do that, it's amazing.
That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Oh my God. I absolutely love hearing the story. It's fantastic. You're so happy. I'm so happy for you. So this is just, this is wonderful. This is really, really great. And you know that we love really good food here at Fraternity Foodie. I know you're a listener to our podcast. So I want to know from your perspective, what's your favorite restaurant to go to in Phoenix? And what do you usually order?
Oh my gosh. So I am originally a Chicago girl. That's where my family came from. We relocated out here to Arizona, but I'm all about Chicago. And luckily we have a big Chicago community out here, people that have relocated for weather reasons and stuff like that. A lot of the well-known Chicago pizzerias have now opened restaurants here. So I'm going to tell you, if I had a chance, if you could sit there and tell me, is there any place you'd want to go to dinner? I would want to go to one of those restaurants to have a true, authentic, deep dish Chicago pizza.
No, you know you're talking to a New Yorker. So anytime you start talking about deep dish pizza, I'm thinking of a casserole, right?
Exactly. You're thinking it's not pizza at all. I get it. Michael, look at it. I love pizza so much. I would never turn down a slice of New York pizza, but I'm a little bit biased. So.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. We'll agree to disagree on that point. So listen, we have so many listeners all across the country that are listening to this interview right now, and I am sure they would love to follow you. Maybe it's on social media, maybe to connect with you. Is there a place where people can go to follow you?
Sure. I'm very open. So I do have a Facebook account. And I'm very open about, accepting friend requests and stuff like that. So if there's anybody who's interested in just following me or maybe asking a question. I know there's probably a lot of people out there that might be watching this who have children or siblings, people who are going through this issue. And they may be confused about things. They may not be understanding or maybe not seeing that there's a path forward, and they're worried about their loved ones. Maybe it's actually somebody that's struggling with these issues themselves. I am always welcome to answer questions. I feel like being open about these issues and being able to educate people is so important. And I do respect people's privacy. I get it. There's a lot of people in my community that are not comfortable with being out and forward with their stories. I've taken a little bit of a different tack with that because I do think that as we march along in life, that once people get to know each other, people who don't look like us, who don't think like us, who don't vote like us, we have so much in common. If we could just break down those barriers. So if anybody wants to do it, you can send me a private message through Facebook. You can send me a friend request. I'd be more than happy if you reached out to answer any questions or if you just want to be a friend.
I love it. I absolutely love it. This has been great. I'm so happy that we found some time to catch up so I can hear the full story, share it with my listeners, and to help educate. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. So thank you for bringing your voice to Fraternity Foodie. Thank you for educating. Thank you for being you. I'm so happy that you're happy and everything has been working out magically. I'm so happy for that. And thank you.
Thank you. And it's such a great honor to be part of this. You know, I do listen to this podcast all the time. So to have you ask me to be part of this is such an honor. It really is. So thank you for that.
It's my pleasure. You are the perfect guest and you are welcome anytime. I stand with you. So thank you so much. Thank you to our listeners. If you enjoyed this, please like it. Please share it with others that maybe they would, Tracy's message would really resonate with them. And we hope to see you on another episode of Fraternity Foodie. Stay tuned for episode number 100 is going to be coming right around the corner. And we so appreciate all of our listeners. Thank you for listening. We'll see you soon.